Hi, welcome back to Burning River Bushcraft. I'm going to take advantage of the sunshine today and use my JT Handcraft Sewing Kit to do some gear maintenance. So this is my Handcraft tarp that I did a review on, and this is like, Kevlar and cut resistant and fire resistant and everything else, but what's not fire resistant is the nylon pull-outs on this. So the sew-in tabs are not flame resistant. Never meant to be. I was actually doing a smoking video, and so I had a tripod set up smoking some deer, and this thing got too close and melted. So you see the quick field fix, just throw a knot in it, use some bank line, and keep going. Obviously this is not the answer for this kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is cut the seam, sew a new piece on. Alright, so this is my sewing kit I'm going to be using. Now I've had this for about 3 or 4 years now. This is made by JT Handcraft. Now the style of this is a Saami style sewing kit. So this is designed by the Finnish Saami people, and they traditionally carry this on their belt. So, not my thing. I don't need access to a needle that bad to carry this around on my belt all the time, but it's a pretty comprehensive kit, and it's got a couple different size needles in it. Keeps everything in one place and organized, and I usually carry it in one of my bigger bags. Sewing kit. So you can see it's leather tube. It's about as wide as my hand. It's got corks on each end, a leather wing with a stopper that comes down to keep the assembly closed. I've never had this pop open, so this is decorative in my opinion. So to get at it, you slide the cork off one end and the tube slides off the other way. Everything's still all contained. And here is, a look at the needle collection that's included here. Now I've went through these. I've broken needles, lost needles, added needles. One thing that's definitely going to be included, here's a good sharp sail needle. This is a canvas sail needle. This is something I carry with me anyway, but this is like a spare. Here is that blunt tip leather harness needle like I used in the neck sheath video. So there's a pretty good assortment of needles, different size eyes on the needles. So something as simple as this and as light as this, until you have to craft a needle out of a piece of bone, you don't realize how important a steel needle is. This is a very common trade item along the American frontier. So now inside the leather tube itself, and I don't use it that much, to be honest. I use my needles out of the case. But there's thread, as well as a few other items for gear repair. Okay, so he has, let's see, there's 2 different size safety pins. There's, an assortment of thread, and this is all waxed thread, which works a lot better with leather. That almost looks like an artificial sinew. This type of thread here I've used with leather before. That's applied thread, so you can break that down pretty easy, as well as white cotton thread, which actually practically match this better. But like I said, when I plan on doing any sewing, I usually bring my own thread with me and use the needles out of my case and reserve this for an emergency. Also in the case, you know, he included a scalpel. You know, you could put a handle on this if you needed to, but all this is for is to slice through the threads like I just did with my knife. So if your knife was in bad shape, you know, he included a small scalpel to get in there where you need it and cut the threads. So a field repair kit would have been using bank line just like I did. You know, this type of webbing is not something that you're probably going to have access to. You know, you could cannibalize other gear if you needed to make something in the field, but you know, it's definitely something worth having in your home-based repair kit. You know, buttons, zippers, straps, buckles, as well as some of this webbing. Okay, I'm going to cut this just a touch long so I can fold it under. Okay, so I've got a knot through this. I've got this captured. I'm going to place it on the tarp. So if I had finer thread, I could use a finer needle. Because I have the bank line with me today, I can't get it through the eye of anything besides my canvas sail needle without breaking it down. You know, and then the size of this needle, plus I've got webbing, I've got double webbing at certain points, as well as the thickness of the material. You know, I was having a heck of a time pushing it through. You know, I used a couple pieces of wood, used a few different things to see what works best. In my kit today, I've just got an antler handled ferro rod, and you know, that seemed to work good enough. But this definitely a thimble of any type or a sailor's glove, you know, would be handy to have. If it's not something you carry, you should be able to improvise it or make something in the woods. We're gonna have to do that in another video. Okay, so here's the first row of stitches. This is the first pass. Now I'm going to go in from the other side every other hole. So it's going to look like a sewing machine did it, but a really bad sewing machine. Alright, so we're just finishing up now. Right here was my last hole. So my next time I'm going to come up from the inside here, cross over, and fill in the X. Alright, so I finished up right here. That was really my last stitch that I needed to make. So I'm going to go over a space, go back in so I can finish on the inside. And then to finish this, I'm just going to go right through the webbing itself. I'm going to pull it in, but I'm going to leave a loop like this. I'm just going to pass the needle through here a few times. Alright, so there it is. That's a field repair of my tarp with the JT Handcraft Sewing Kit. This has been Jamie Boggs with Burning River Bushcraft. See you next time.